Okay, so here is 1.4 multiplying polynomials, and so we've already started this section. So first we were just multiplying monomials to each other, okay? Then we went to the distributive property down here, and that's where we left off, okay? So now what we're going to do is, if you notice, all these multiplication, one of the terms was just a monomial, and so that just means a single term without addition or subtraction. Now, the other term might have had it, but the term that was being distributed was just, a value or maybe had a variable with it, but that was it. What we're going to look at next is what if we multiply two binomials together, and that's pretty popular. That's something that we'll do quite a bit. And so there's a couple different ways to do this, and so one way to do it is using the distributive property, and so I have this example right here we can look at. And so my pen's going to work. Let's see. So we've got uh, x plus 3 times x plus 5. And so the way you want to do this, if you want to do the distributive property, basically what's happening is the x is going to get multiplied to both of these, and so that's what we put right here. So x times x plus 5, and then the 3 is going to get multiplied to the same 2. So then plus 3 times x plus 5. And you go ahead and distribute each part. Okay, so we'll distribute each part. So x times x is x squared, then you get plus 5x. Then here 3 times x is 3x, and then 3 times 5 is 15. Now, most of the time, these terms in the middle will be like terms. So we're going to go back to adding like terms. So that was the very first thing we did in this course. And these are going to be pretty simple. They're not going to be anything crazy. So you just add that together. 5 plus 3 is 8x. And so there you go. That's our answer right there. Okay? Eventually, we're going to go in the reverse direction. You're actually going to take this and try to go back to the original problem over here. Anyways, that'll be for next week, though. Another way of doing this, something you've probably heard of before, it's called the FOIL method. And so FOIL. And so the way that works is, so you multiply the first two terms together. That's what the F stands for, so first. So x times x is the first term of each binomial. So you get x squared. Then the O stands for the outer terms. So you look at this thing and you look at the two outside terms. So x times 5, that's positive. So we're going to put it as a plus 5x. And then the I stands for the inner terms. So we had the outer terms. Now we have the inner terms. 3 times x is 3x. And then L stands for the last terms in each binomial. So then 3 times 5, and that's positive 15, so we put 15 right there. And so you notice it's just the same thing that you saw over here with the distributive property. It's just supposed to be kind of a faster way. You're basically cutting a step out, right? So it's up to you how you want to approach it. I'm going to, FOIL's pretty traditional, so that's probably the way I'm going to do it. But distributive, that's not a bad way of doing it. Usually students that need just a little extra help on kind of seeing how this works, they like to do it that way, but I'll leave that up to you. All right, so let's go ahead and knock some of these out. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to stick with the FOIL method. So first I'm going to multiply these two together, so x times x is x squared. Then next I'm going to do the outer two, the outer right there, so x times the positive 4, so plus 4x. And then the inter part, so 3 times x, they're both positive, so it's going to be plus 3x. And then the last two terms, so 3 times 4, once again, they're both positive, so 3 times 4 is a plus 12. And then, like I said, most of the time these in the middle, we'll be able to go ahead and combine those together. So that's what we'll do here. We'll go ahead and combine this. So this cleans up to x squared plus 7x, and then plus 12. All right, so if you want to pause it and try these other ones, you can, but I'm just going to go ahead and keep moving on. You'll notice that, so we had plus plus on the first example. Those are the easy ones. These don't get all that difficult. You just have to be careful about your signs. So right here, we're going to have a z times z. Okay, so that's just z squared, not a big deal. Then z times a minus 5. Okay, so or negative 5. So z times negative 5, so it's negative 5z or minus 5z. Okay, so z times the minus 5 gives us a minus 5z. Then here we're going to have negative 6 times z, so that's going to be a minus 6z. And then we're going to have negative 6 times negative 5. So we have double negatives now. Negative 6, negative 5, so that's going to become a plus 30. And then we just want to go ahead and, once again, those middle terms, they're like terms. They have the same variable, same exponent, so we can add or combine them together. So let's see, we end up with z squared minus 11z, and then we have that plus 30 right there. And there we go. All right, so now we're going to look at one where one's plus, one's minus. So let's see, b times b, b squared, b times minus 8, minus 8b, one positive, one negative, so we get a minus 8b. 3 times b, they're both positive, so this one's actually plus 3b. And then 3 times negative 8, so positive, negative. 3 times 8 is 24, but it's going to be a minus 24 because of the signs. Okay, then here, once again, so we get a minus 8b plus 3b. So be careful. Negative 8 plus 3 is actually negative 5, so be careful on your arithmetic. So this can be a minus 5b and then minus 24. There you go. Alrighty then, so moving on, 4 is not going to be all that much different. 5 and 6, we're going to introduce some numbers with the x's, not that big of a deal. 6, we throw in an extra variable, not really that big of a deal, just kind of be a little careful with it and we'll be fine. Okay, so looking at 4, so let's see, we're going to do x times x squared, x times 5 plus 5x. Now we multiply the negative 2 by both of these. And you just have to do it enough times. It becomes like muscle memory. It's going to be easy. So let's see, minus 2x and then minus 10. And then the last thing you want to do is just go ahead and clean that up in the middle. X squared, 5, take away 2 is positive 3, so plus 3x and then minus 10. Alrighty then. Okay, so now what we're going to do is add a 3 with the x and a 2 with the x in front. Not a big deal, just got to do that as part of the multiplication. So 3x times 2x. So 3 times 2 is 6. X times x, get your x squared. 3x times a minus 7. So positive and a negative, so it's going to be minus. 3 times 7 is 21. Don't forget to bring the x with you. Then here, let's see, we get negative 1 times 2x. That's easy. That'll just be minus 2x. And then negative 1 times a minus 7, so double negative, so that's going to be a plus 7. So then we'll go ahead and simplify or combine those like terms in the middle. So we end up with 6x squared minus 23x and then plus 7. There you go. Okay, so the next couple, we're just going to kind of, we're going to add a b on the back part of it, have a little extra variable. Once again, just be careful with your multiplication. Not really, the process is the exact same. A times a squared, a times minus 4ab. So the way I want to do this is I like to keep my letters in alphabetical order. So I'll put the number first. So this has an understood 1 in front, right? So 1 times a negative 4, so we're going to keep it as minus 4. And then I have an a and a b that's also getting multiplied in this process. And so once again, I'm just going to go ahead and put it in alphabetical order. So ab. Then on this next one, we're going to multiply by 3b to both of these. So I'm doing 3b times 1a basically. So 3 times 1 is positive 3, so I'm going to put plus 3. And then I have a b and an a that's also getting multiplied in this process here. And once again, I'm going to put the A first and then the B. Just looks nicer. Now I'm consistent with my other term also. Then on the last part, 3b times a minus 4b. So positive and negative, so that's going to be a minus 12. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. And then b times b, we get a b squared. All right, so then just like all the other problems, the last step here is going to be to combine these in the middle. So let's see, we're going to have a squared, and then negative 4 plus 3, that's going to be negative 1. You can put the 1 if you want, but it's considered to be more simplified if you don't include it. If you are doing a paper assignment, I wouldn't be all that picky, but just so you know, when you're doing your homework, they probably are expecting you just to leave it like this. Don't put a 1 there. It's understood. This would be considered to be a little bit more simplified. Okay, so I've got a couple more that are kind of similar to that. Just added a couple more numbers in there, but it's going to be a similar process. All right. So let's see if we, let's see, 2x times x. Let's see, 2x squared. 2x times that 5y, so 2 times 5 is 10. And then we have an x and a y. Once again, put them in alphabetical order. It's fine. All right, so then here we got a minus 7y. We're going to go ahead and multiply that to both of these. So let's see that that is an understood 1 right there. So negative 7 times 1, so minus 7. And then yx, or I'm just going to go ahead and switch it around, put it as xy. Just looks better. And we're consistent. Negative 7y times positive 5y. So negative 7, positive 5, that'll give us a minus 35, and then a y squared. And we'll go ahead and clean this up here in the middle. So let's see, we get 2x squared plus 3xy minus 35y squared. There we go. Okay, so we're going to have one more like this. And then we're going to look at a different type that's kind of similar to what we're doing, but we just kind of add one little extra element to it. Okay, so my pen. All right, there we go. So the 2y is going to get multiplied to both of those parts. So 2 times 4 is 8, y times y squared. 2 times that minus 3, that'll give us a minus 6. And we got a y and a z, so y and then z. And so now we're going to do the same deal, but with the 5z gets multiplied to both of those. So 5z times 4y, that should give us a plus 20. 5 times 4, 20. And then I'm going to put the y first and then the z. There we go. Looks good here. Then 5z times the negative 3z. So that will turn into a minus 15z squared. And so then the last part of this is to combine this in the middle. So we're going to get 8. Oops. Let me see, this thing's acting up on me. I might have to scroll up. There we go. 8 y squared. Let's see, negative 6 plus 20. It's going to give us a positive 14 y z. And then we get a minus 15 z squared right there. All right. Let's see. So now we're going to look at, we got like 4 more to go here. And what you'll notice is one's a binomial and one's actually a trinomial. It's got 3 terms. And it's similar to like the FOIL. We don't really have an acronym for it, but what we're going to do here is that first term is going to get multiplied to all 3 instead of just 2, all 3. And then we'll multiply that second term by all 3 also, and then we'll go ahead and combine like terms. I am going to write this out just slightly different than the ones above, but you'll see why I'm doing that in just a second. So I'm going to multiply a by all these. So a times 3a squared, everything's just going to go bump up by 1 power. So it's really just going to bump up to a cube, a square, and then this guy's going to get an a right here. So a times a, that's just going to give us plus a squared. A times that 2 is just going to be plus 2a. Okay, so now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to multiply by the 3. I'm going to multiply all these by 3. Now, if you want to, you can continue on out going horizontally. It's called the horizontal method. You just keep writing out the terms horizontally. You can do that if you want. But what will make life a little bit easier and faster is if what you do is just line them up and we'll do it vertically. We'll use the vertical method. So 3 times 3a squared is a 9a squared. So all I'm doing is I'm kind of like organizing my like terms. Instead of putting it over here, which if I want to, I could put a plus 9 a squared over here if I really want to. But I'm going to put it right here so they'll be right next to each other. Okay. Same thing with the next one, 3 times a, that's a plus 3a. So I'm just going to put it right here. So I have a positive 3a right here. And then 3 times 2 is 6. So there is no column for that. So then I just kind of put it right here, plus 6. And so what this does is now I'm just going to combine like terms vertically. I'm just going to go down and, like I said, just makes the process a little bit easier. If I really wanted to, I could have just wrote it all out horizontally and combined like terms that way. And I mean, that's fine if that's what you want to do. So here I've got 3a cubed. I don't have any others, so I just kind of drop it down, 3a cubed. Then here, you gotta be careful. So this actually has an understood 1 in front, right? So you have 1a squared, and then you have another positive 9a squared. So just add them together, so that's 10a squared. And then here you have 2a plus 3a, so that's going to be plus 5a. And then we don't want to forget about the plus 6 right there. And so that's my answer. So if you want to, like I said, you can write it all out horizontally, but what happens typically is you end up writing out really far on your page, and so this saves a little bit of space, and it's just a little bit nicer. You get your like terms right next to each other, add them together or whatever. In this case, the first one I made kind of easy. Everything's plus, so everything's positive. So we'll look at one where maybe we'll deal with some different signs and stuff, but process should be the same, shouldn't be super difficult. So what we'll do here is we'll distribute the n to all 3 of these, just like the first one. Everything's just going to get bumped up by a power here. So we're going to get n to the 3rd minus 3n squared, and then a plus 4n. So everything just got multiplied by n cubed, then minus 3n squared plus 4n. Now the second one, we're going to multiply all these by negative 5. So negative 5 times n squared is a minus 5n squared. Once again, I could put it over here if I want, but I'm just going to go ahead and put the minus 5n squared right here. So now they're just right next to each other. Then negative 5 times a negative 3n, so double negative, so this will be plus 15n. So plus 15n. And then the last one, negative 5 times that positive 4, that'll give us a minus 20. Once again, I don't have any other like terms with this, so it just creates a new column for itself right here. So the last thing we want to do is just clean it up by combining those columns of like terms. So n cubed is on its own. Then right here, let's see, that's going to go ahead and give us, they're both negative. So minus 3n squared minus 5n squared. So together it's minus 8n squared. Here we got a plus 4n, a plus 15n, so combined that's a plus 19n. And then you have that minus 20 right there. You don't want to forget about that. There you are. Okay, so I've got 2 left, and you'll notice the only real difference from number 11 and 9 is I'm going to put a number with the first variable, and same thing with 12 and 10. Not all that different from number 10, but I put a value with the x there. Doesn't really change much. Just going to get a little bit bigger numbers as we go through the process. All right, let me get a little extra space. There we go. Okay, so here we're going to start by multiplying everything by 6y. So instead of just bumping up by a power, I'm also multiplying by 6. So on this first one, we're going to get 18y to the 3rd power. Then I'm going to get plus 30y squared. And then I'm going to get plus a 6y. So that's the first part. Then I'm going to go ahead and multiply by this plus 1. So this can be 3y squared. So I'm going to put a, if you want to, you can put a plus with it. It doesn't really matter. So plus 3y squared. Then I'm going to get a plus 5y. And then the last one, 1 times 1, that just gives me a plus 1. And so we go through and combine like terms, and all this stuff's positive, so it shouldn't be all that difficult. So let's see, 18y to the third. This combines to be 33y squared. This adds up to 11y, and then plus 1. There you have it. Okay, last one here. Pretty similar to 11, except that we'll have some other signs than just addition. So we'll start with multiplying everything by 3x. So let's see, 3 times 2 is 6. X times x squared, let's see, that'll give us x to the third power. 3x times 3x, that'll be a plus 9x squared. And then 3x times this minus 5, so 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Don't forget about that x, so minus 15x. Now we multiply everything by negative 1. That should be pretty simple. So negative, it just causes you to get the opposite result. So negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x squared. So I'm going to put that right here, minus 2x squared. Negative 1 times 3x, that'll give me a minus 3x. And negative 1 times a negative 5, double negative. So we'll turn that to a plus 5. And then now we'll go ahead and combine like terms in each column. So we bring down the 6x cubed. This adds up together right here to 7x squared. This right here, they're both negative, so take away 15, take away 3 altogether, take away 18x, and then don't forget about the plus 5. There you have it. Okay, so that concludes the 1.4. I'm going to make another video now doing 1.5. 1.5 is fairly short.